The twin suns of Cathara Prime cast long shadows across the crimson desert as Aziz checked his equipment for the third time that hour. His colony ship had crashed on this desolate planet 6 months ago, and he'd been surviving alone ever since, scavenging parts and hoping for a rescue that might never come. The screech cut through the afternoon air like a blade. Aziz's head snapped up. Every instinct told him to stay hidden, to preserve his limited ammunition, to prioritize his own survival. But that sound, high-pitched, terrified, unmistakably sentient, made his feet move before his brain could object. He sprinted toward the noise, pulse rifle in hand, boots kicking up clouds of rust-colored sand. Around a jagged outcropping of obsidian rock, he found her. The girl was small, maybe 4 feet tall, with iridescent blue skin that shimmered like oil on water. Her large amber eyes were wide with terror as she pressed herself against the rock face. Between her and safety stood a creature Aziz had learned to fear during his months on Cathara. A razorwing, all teeth and armored hide, its 6 legs positioned to pounce. Aziz didn't hesitate. He raised his rifle and fired 3 precise shots. The first 2 struck the beast's flank, drawing its attention. The third caught it square in its exposed throat as it turned. The razorwing collapsed with a gurgling roar, its massive body convulsing before going still. The girl stared at him, trembling. Her mouth moved, producing sounds like wind chimes and distant thunder. Aziz didn't understand a word, but he recognized gratitude when he saw it. He lowered his weapon slowly, raising one hand palm out in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "It's okay," he said softly. "You're safe now." The girl took a tentative step forward, then another. She reached out and touched the barrel of his rifle with one delicate 3-fingered hand, her eyes studying him with intense curiosity. Then, without warning, she turned and ran, disappearing into the rocky terrain faster than Aziz could track. He stood there alone with the dead razorwing, wondering if he'd just made first contact or simply frightened off another of Cathara's indigenous creatures. 3 days later, Aziz woke to find his shelter surrounded. He grabbed his rifle and peered through the reinforced window of his makeshift habitat. At least 50 beings stood in a semicircle around his dwelling, all with the same iridescent blue skin as the girl he'd saved. They carried no weapons that he could see, but they stood with an unmistakable formality, arranged in precise rows. At their center stood the girl, Akeem as he'd later learn her name. Beside her was a larger figure, his skin a deeper cobalt blue, wearing what appeared to be ceremonial armor made of polished stone and woven metal. Aziz's heart hammered. This was it. Either first contact would go peacefully or he'd spend his last moments on this planet fighting for his life. He stepped outside, weapon lowered but ready. The larger figure stepped forward and began to speak. The sounds were alien, musical, but behind them Aziz heard something else, a rhythm, a pattern. Akeem stood beside the elder, and as he spoke she touched a device at her throat. It glowed softly, and suddenly Aziz understood fragments of meaning. Dead of life, sacred bond, daughter of my house, human warrior. The elder knelt, pressing his forehead to the sand. Behind him, every member of the gathering did the same, a wave of blue bodies bowing in perfect synchronization. Aziz stood frozen, completely out of his depth. He'd saved one girl from a predator. That was all. It had been instinct, the same thing any decent person would do. Akeem approached him, the translation device still glowing. Her words came through clearer now. "You saved Chief's daughter. You faced Razorwing alone. You asked nothing in return. This is the way of the Kelthari. Honor demands honor. Life debt demands life service. I don't want anyone's service," Aziz stammered. "I just didn't want her to die." Akeem's head tilted, her amber eyes studying him with that same intense curiosity from 3 days ago. She translated his words for the assembled tribe, and a murmur rippled through the crowd. The elder rose, approached, and placed both hands on Aziz's shoulders. Through Akeem's translation, the chief spoke. "This proves what the ancestors whispered. You fight not for glory or gain, but because it is right. The Kelthari have wandered these wastes for generations, seeking worthy purpose. You have shown us what we sought." Over the following hours, as the suns traced their path across the alien sky, Aziz learned the truth. The Kelthari were warriors without a war, a tribe of protectors who'd lost their sacred purpose when their ancient enemy was destroyed centuries ago. They'd been searching, wandering, waiting for a sign. Aziz had become that sign, not through conquest or demand, but through a simple act of courage and compassion. As the day ended, the Kelthari began constructing permanent dwellings around Aziz's shelter. Akim sat beside him on a smooth boulder, watching her people work. "We stay," she said simply, her mastery of his language growing by the hour. "We protect, we serve. This is Kelthari way." Aziz looked at the bustling activity at this alien tribe that had adopted him as their own, and felt something he hadn't experienced in 6 months of isolation. Hope. "When the rescue ships come," he said quietly, "I'll make sure they understand. You're not subjects. You're family." Akim's face split into what he was learning was a Kelthari smile, showing rows of tiny crystalline teeth that caught the dying light. "Family," she repeated, testing the word. "Yes, this is good word for what we are now." As the twin suns set over Cathara Prime, Aziz realized that he'd stopped hoping for rescue. He'd found something better, a purpose, a tribe, and a place where one human's simple act of decency had changed everything. The stars emerged overhead, countless and brilliant. Somewhere up there, humanity continued its expansion into the cosmos. And down here, one man had proven what made humans special. Not their weapons or their technology, but their willingness to risk everything for a stranger who needed help. That, the Kelthari understood, was worth pledging their lives to protect.